Where are younger people in this discussion? Have you had conversations about this with not your students, but with the young generation of educators?
They're on TikTok.
That's true.
I think they're worried about different things. They're certainly not looking at how do I infuse my teaching with technology, right? That's not the right question. They're looking at inquiry, they're looking at student engagement, they're looking at project-based learning. They're doing like those kinds of things, and they are talking about those kinds of things, but they're not doing it with us. It's a lot of in our schools, there's a lot of book studies, there's a lot of teacher groups getting together to work on things like that.
That's cool.
Especially focused on at the primary building. We're talking a lot about what math instruction looks like, and um, those have been fun conversations to have because they don't see me as a math teacher because I'm just the tech guy. But
Right.
so occasionally we'll surprise them by saying something that they're not expecting. But I think those conversations are happening in schools and in little conferences. I think you know education conferences have changed a lot post COVID, that we're not having these giant 4,000 people events where you're going for 3 days and doing all, they're going to a local place, a school, a university for an afternoon or for, a day. And 2/3 of those people are online. And so they're watching and interacting in, Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
So it's happening. I think that I've been frustrated by um, the synchronicity needed in all of the tools. Like one of the things that I liked about Twitter after you three convinced me to join was that the people that I follow and the people that follow me are not the same group,
Hmm.
because my teachers and my learners are two different groups of people. And most of the models, whether you're using a Google group for a community or you're using Slack or you're using whatever, it's one group of people working together. And I struggle with that I want people to be able to hear me, but I don't need to hear them.
So Jeff, are
I
you
think
also saying like we have our 30, what did you say, 37,000 followers or whatever on Twitter? Are you
Mhm.
saying like where is the next generation going? Where is that 37,000 going? Is that also kind of what you're talking
Not so
about?
much the 37,000, I think, are kind of the old time ed tech talkers. They're mostly Gen X, maybe a few millennials,
Right.
and a
But are
lot of
you saying
bots.
like where's
half
like that
of them are
next generation
retired.
Like
going?
where is this conversation happening with the newer generation? And John answered a lot. It's happening in smaller conferences and in schools. But like whenever you see someone posting a podcast or an online thing, it's usually older folks. I mean, I do see younger TikTok educators or,
Have you
social media
seen
people.
like how many people who are like 20 would you have on Instagram, Jeff?
A lot because I'm friends with my students.
Oh, right. And I can't speak for how it's working in South Korea, so I can't say for sure. Here, at least, you won't, you'll see that they have 5 posts
Yeah.
and they've
It's
been
all
around
stories.
for,
Yeah.
it's all stories now. Nobody wants to make permanent contributions to the overall story. And I think I can't tell you that there's a real connection, but I bet you that that's part of the story too, is that people are loath to make the things that we just made because there was nobody else. Like there was 12 of us on the internet at the time,
But I think like this is a professional conversation. This isn't talking about lunch. If I'm posting about lunch, it might be a story. But like the
but they
content
were
producers who
posts
are
5 years
talking about
ago,
professional stuff are
but
generally
they used
making
to
it
be
more permanent.
posts. They used to
Right.
do them
About
permanently.
lunch?
Yeah. And now
Yeah.
they've stopped.
Yeah.
So that I think they've really shifted in how open they are to putting, we've told them not to.
But I think that kind
Um,
of makes sense. I mean, personal stuff,
Yeah.
you might not want the permanent record, but professional stuff, generally, I think people do.
Even
I
worse,
think
they don't want
No,
to. They've been
right,
told not to
right.
for a
Because
generation now.
I'm going to apply for a job and somebody's going to find this video. And then they'll find something I said half an hour ago that they disagree with. And I mean, we have two new board members who started in January, and one of them said, I watched your webcast. And I said, okay, did
oh
I have pants on?
yeah.
And
Should I
she
talk about
laughed.
it with
And
my
I put
parents?
it on. I said, I'm glad somebody watched it.
Yeah.
but like they're really afraid of those footprints.
I think unless you go to LinkedIn and it's hyper sanitized and you're bright and shiny and everything's great. Look at my promotion. Look at this
Tired.
that I published or whatever.
Sorry, I get into my LinkedIn view here.
Yeah. But I had people when I went through, I mean, even back in the old days, when I was going through my master's and PhDs, and I would post my work, and I had faculty, they'd be like, well, I have assigned this every semester, so now you just shown, how to answer this thing, because that wasn't great. But then I had a lot of students go, we were talking about, stuff that you might not want an employer to see. For example, I hate group work. And so if someone wanted to hire me to design classes that had tons of group work, well, they're like, well, she hates that, so we're not going to hire her.
That's right.
Well, Dave has to go, and I have one of my last batches of conversations with my students set up in an hour.
Sounds good.
For you. Well,
have a great week.
Did you guys enjoy doing this? Was this?
It was fun.
Are we gonna? Oh, good. It feels weird to be the focus of this much talk.
Feels kind of normal to me.
It does.
Ouch.
It does.
Hence my first question. What was wrong with just a webcast? Why did you need a book? Why did I just do a webcast?
No, I'm kind of glad. The chat was a bit quiet, and I wasn't sure if folks were on board, but I enjoy this.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, maybe if we send a note out more than 25 minutes before.
I especially like the part where Jennifer did all the work.
Yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of that. That's the norm.
No, Jeff, now you got to go post.
No.
You big fan.
And you don't even need the elaboration. You can come up with 5 questions for each chapter, and we'll just chime in.
So good. They were really good.
Can we call this the blah blah blah? Just call it the blah blah blah.
You guys just gonna write blah blah blah, and then I have to.
Oh God, I got to get another domain.
All right. See you guys next week. Ta-ta.
Bye, guys.